Hello once again, witchy people. This is sort of a VR. It's a reaction, I guess, a video reaction to a video that I saw by Thorn Mooney. And her video was, I had to write down the title, Don't Put Other Witches on Pedestals. And it really caught my attention. And then when I listened to it and watched her video, it really grabbed me, because it is from the perspective of someone who has been put on a pedestal by some. And it really intrigued me. And this comes very close to all the videos about authenticity. I watched one by Kelden recently. And a lot of this has to do with, on Thorn's video, was very much that you have to, for as much as because we don't have a lot of teachers in the witchcraft community, and a lot of witches are very solitary, we don't have people directly to teach us, we teach ourselves. And we don't have like the equivalent to like ministers and teachers and such like. And so we tend to refer very much to people who are well known in the community, or authors, a lot of pagan authors, and Thorn Mooney being one of them. And she finds it quite worrying, and I thought it was a really interesting perspective from her side. Because I think a lot of us, if we're really honest, we would like to be put in that position of authority, of responsibility, really. We would like to be thought of as mentors to our community, as people that other members of our community look up to. That, I think, is, if we're honest, is quite a nice goal for a lot of us. And, from our perspective of people who aren't as popular as and aren't authors like Thorn, it seems like a nice goal. It seems as though that would be something to aim for. And for someone who's reached that and attained that kind of mentorship status, she says it's fine to refer to pagan authors. I think she was specifically talking about authors, not necessarily people that are big on YouTube, although she's a very large pagan witchcraft presence on YouTube. I think she was referring to a lot of pagan authors, and we refer to a lot of books, pagan books even, to teach ourselves. And not necessarily the printed book, but also authors online. And whilst it's fine to let these people inspire you and to gain some understanding of your path from these other people, to put these people on a pedestal is wrong. And it kind of made me think, oh crikey, I've changed my mind, I don't ever want to be that popular. Because it's true, we are all very infallible. None of us are infallible. We are all very human and prone to make mistakes. So what happens when you revere someone that much? Like, it's okay to look up to someone, but when you start revering someone, someone you revere and you have therefore put on a pedestal, falls from that pedestal, how does that affect your practice? And she has said, it has happened in our community. I know it has. There was one particular witch that I thought was, I still actually do think she's amazing, but there has been a few things that come out of the closet a few years back that perhaps she wasn't a genuine person. And I tended not to listen, to be honest. I kind of make my own decisions about things, and I thought for everything that I had gained from this person, I wasn't going to listen to a few rumours. But there are sometimes, you know, things do happen and people get knocked off their pedestal, and whilst that can affect them and how they practice, because sometimes their whole practice is wrapped up in them being an author or being on a pedestal or being thought of as and very highly regarded within the community. So of course it's going to affect them. You've got to try and think how it would affect you. If you put someone on a pedestal and they were knocked off because of something that came out about their past, or something that they did something terribly wrong, like is happening over the last year or so within the makeup and beauty community on YouTube, there have been some big names falling down there. And it was, you know, I thought if that happened, if I looked up to someone that much that I put them on a pedestal and they fell, how would that affect my practice? Would it make my practice seem less authentic, less, you know, less real somehow? And that's quite a worrying thought, that some people do put others on pedestals. And I feel comfortable saying that, knowing that I am not on anyone's pedestal except for maybe my husband's, and that's okay. It's Thorn said she didn't like the idea of anyone putting her on a pedestal. So I think it's something that we have to think very carefully about. As I said, that goes back to authenticity and feeling that perhaps if that had happened to someone, their path didn't, because they had gained so much and learned so much from a particular person, and they were proven to be perhaps not a nice person, or their path wasn't so true, perhaps their own practice then would feel not as true and not as authentic. Now Kelden, once again about a month ago, put out a video called Authenticity and Aesthetics, and I don't think Kelden sees anything wrong with aesthetics either. You know, aesthetics is just something that, you know, that we all have our own aesthetic. But he was explaining that they are somehow very much linked, and if you don't see something that aesthetically, so you see something and it doesn't quite meet with your expectations of what that person should look like, it makes them seem, maybe to your eye, a little less authentic. So if someone says to you, I don't know, I'm a hedge witch and I haven't got, you know, muddy fingernails and go around in hippie clothing, you know, and have a crystal ball in my hand, then maybe I don't seem authentic. And I think we have to, it's not what we have to do to other people, we have to be comfortable in ourselves. And like I said, it was a really hard thing for me to try and get my head around watching Kelden's video, because I've never questioned myself or compared myself to other witches or other witchcraft ways. I mean, sometimes I will look at someone and think, oh, how lucky they are to be living in such a place where they've got, I don't know, this land at the back of their house or something like that. But I've never thought my own practice any less authentic when comparing with someone else's. And it is quite worrying that some people do this. And I was wondering whether it had to do with maybe age, because I think as you get older you tend to care a lot less about what people think of you and about whether you're doing things right or wrong. You tend to focus more on doing what is right for you, or maybe that's just me, I don't know, but I think it generally, as you get older, you tend to be more accepting of yourself, And in that way, you also become more accepting of other people and more forgiving of other people. Not to say that when you're younger you don't. Some people just are naturally very forgiving and do not see the bad in anyone. My mum, for instance, has always been that way. And she would never see someone as unauthentic because they didn't meet her expectations of what they should be like. And I think you always have to be very true to yourself. And I think that's what it boils down to. Because if you base your whole practice on the teachings of someone else, and I'm not talking about a tradition, but I'm talking about a specific person, then you are setting yourself up for a whole lot of disappointment if that person fails you. And you may call your own path into question. So you should never, base your whole path on the teachings of someone else. It has to be something that you work through yourself. You can be inspired by someone else, and you can get ideas from other people, and you can try to emulate them in different ways, but don't try to be them. Don't be jealous of them, and certainly don't put them on the pedestal, because, as I say, none of us are infallible and we will all fall down one day or another. And you should never have to call your own practice or how you see yourself as a witch into question. The same as you should never call into question anyone else's version of living the witchcraft way, living as a witch. So that was just my ideas, my thoughts on these things that kind of, like I say, they were, it's a bit all over the place because, like I say, I am still catching up on people's videos from January. I am that far behind, and it feels like there's so much that I need to catch up on, and I have missed a lot. And I seem to have come sort of back online at a time where there is that upheaval again. There's always seems to be, every couple of years, upheaval in our community, especially through YouTube and Facebook, where people are, I'm not saying they are being picked on, but they feel picked on, they feel persecuted, they feel as though they're not part of the community. And this does happen every couple of years. Not that I am saying or insinuating that makes their pain or confusion or their thoughts any less relevant, because it doesn't. But it does seem to happen every couple of years. There is usually something that happens. I mean, I think there was a whole thing, was it last year or the year before, on plastic witches? I think was quite the buy phrase back then. And I think now it's going to be about authenticity, and I don't think anyone should question their own authenticity as a witch. If you are a witch and you practice witchcraft, you are a witch. I mean, going back a few years ago, saying if you practice witchcraft, you are a witch. There was a whole thing on witches who don't witch a few years back, and some witches do not feel the need to perform a lot of witchcraft. It's not what they do. It's not, what they need to do. And I think as well, you've got to bear in mind that some witches, myself included, don't do a whole lot of ceremony or ritual. We just tend to do things off the cuff, off the bat, and see how it goes. It's not something that's often thought out, really. So like I say, every couple of years there seems to be an upheaval within the community, and there seems to be a lot of phrases, catchphrases almost, that are thrown about, and there's a lot made of these things. Not that there shouldn't be a lot made, and like I say, people have very valid points of view. no one's point of view is irrelevant or invalid. But we have, during these times when we do have these upheavals, and as in any community this happens, I think we have to be true to ourselves. I'm pretty sure it's Brittany, Palm Tree Witcher, who says be true to yourself. It's either her or Trish, Beanbag Hagwag. But not only do you have to be true to yourself, you really do have to believe in your authenticity. It's not something you should have to strive for. You should just be authentic. And it's not, like I say, it's not something you should look for in others as well. Just, my dad always used to say, be open-minded, but not so open-minded that your brain falls out. And I think that's kind of how we should stand on this. Maybe it's how I stand on it. You know, accept, if someone says they're a witch, accept their authenticity as such, and don't question them, but don't take everything they say as read. Okay, I think I've rambled on enough now. I shall probably in 10 minutes time think of a whole load of stuff I should have said, but I didn't write anything down. The only thing I wrote down was the headings of the videos that I watched. So I'll be back very soon. I may even finish those grimoire pages, you never know. Thank you for watching, witchy people. I will be back soon. Bye for now.